Interesting. Have you considered teaching as a possible creative outlet in your career?
I love talking to people about this kind of stuff. I mean, I haven't really thought specifically about teaching, but I often will sit down with people and, you know, I go to festivals sometimes, I do panels and things like that. I enjoy it, and I love hanging out with young people, and, you know, I have 4 kids of my own, and I hang out with their friends sometimes, and, you know, I get a lot of good, not only do I get to kind of share my wisdom with them for what it's worth, but I get a lot of incredible feedback from them about what's going on in their lives and what's going on in society on that level that I'm not really a part of anymore. So yeah, yes, I would love that, basically, yes.
That's great. Okay, Larry, this is a free topic. Anything on your mind you'd like to share or discuss that the audience would find amusing before we open it up to audience question and answer?
Well, talk about pressure. I actually would rather just go to the questions and answers. Let's do that.
You want to go to the question? Okay, anybody have a question for Larry? You want to come up here? I have a wireless mic.
Oh, thanks.
What year did you graduate, Larry?
I did not graduate from here. My parents got divorced, and my mother took us to Florida, and I wound up, which was amazing about Florida was by the time I got to Florida, the school system there was so much, the academics was so much less that from struggling through school in New York, I wound up like graduating second in my class in Florida. So to give you some idea. And I took the SATs on acid also, and which was not unusual in those days. Yeah.
Hi, Larry. How did you know that your humor was a humor that other people would find funny? That in a larger sphere than, you know, telling your friends jokes and having them laugh at you?
I got a sense of it when those 20 guys who wanted to kick my ass would laugh. I go, huh, this works, you know? But actually, in truth, you never know. I don't know. I never know. I have a certain instinct that I've honed that I kind of trust, and I've been around enough of these genius people that I'm talking about, like Bob Dylan, who I've collaborated with, and Larry, and Michael Moore, and all these interesting people, and I've learned from them that you can trust your instinct, and that's all you can go on, and you can't ever know for sure, you know, but you have to be willing to take the risk. That's the key. You gotta be willing to fall on your face, you gotta be willing to be a fool, you gotta be willing to be humiliated if you want to go for the gold, you know, and in comedy, that's how it works, unfortunately. So you never know, and from joke to joke, from moment to moment, you don't know. And it changes constantly, it's constantly in flux as well. So that's the best answer I can give you to that, actually. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Mark Siegel, class of '74, and I was wondering, you said getting into trouble. What was the most physical danger, I guess, in making Borat? What was like the most hot water you got into? Worst situation? We
did a scene, I'll tell you a quick story, not that quick a story. We did a scene, this is funny, we had an idea for Borat to go to a plantation, okay, in Arkansas or Louisiana, I can't remember now. And there are plantations in the Deep South that are still open where they recreate the slave days, okay? You go down there, the mistress of the house comes out in the big dress like Gone with the Wind. There's little black kids in the cotton fields, I swear to God. And they give you a tour and pretend it's like pre-Civil War days. And this goes on a lot in the South, and people don't know this. And we found out about it. We said, well, wouldn't it be great if Borat didn't realize that it was a recreation? He thought this was going on right now, and he's going to free the slaves. He's going to drive his ice cream truck onto the field and get all the slaves, and he's going to drive them off the field. And it was a very rough day in Louisiana. It was like raining and everything. We were waiting to start the scene. We were kind of hiding, which we're often doing, and planning our escape routes, which is also very important. And we walked up to the plantation lady, the mistress of the house, and Sasha he was a little hyper that day. I remember standing in the fields while it was raining, and I was standing next to this young African-American guy, and I'm going, you know, what do you do here on a Saturday night? And he said, I work at McDonald's on Saturday night. And I said, well, why? You know, he said, well, I don't make enough money as a slave. That's what he said to me. And it was like, it was kind of so surreal as you could imagine, you know. And the woman had this big plastic horse, like life-size plastic horse. And as soon as Sasha walked onto the field as Borat, he said to her, "Did you put a curse on this horse? Have you cursed this horse? You put a gypsy curse on this horse?" And the woman immediately started freaking out, and one thing led to another, and suddenly her husband came running out and started chasing Sasha with a cocked fist, threatening to get a gun. We're all running. Sasha has to be taken away because Sasha's from England. And if he gets arrested, he could get deported, and that's the end of the movie. So the first thing we always did was put Sasha in a car and take him away. Then my crew, we got in our van and we took off. And as we're driving from whatever it was, Arkansas, Louisiana, we're heading to the Mississippi state line, to cross the state line to be safe, literally. And we're driving like maniacs, and suddenly 17 police cars come the other way. And the cherry tops are going and the sirens and everything, and they pass us and they look, they see the ice cream truck, they see us, they stop, they screech to a halt, they turn around, and they take us all, and they don't arrest us yet, but they bring us back to the plantation. The last place you want to be in that situation is back at the plantation. They bring us back to the plantation. The woman is really agitated, her husband is really agitated. The police are all these good old boys, these kind of Bubba types with the pot bellies, and they're like, "What happened here?" You know, and she owns like 9 plantations, so she's got a lot of power also. And she's saying these guys came in and they lied and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, she lied, blah, blah, blah. You know, but we're losing the battle with the cops. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a Friday, and we're gonna go to jail. We are gonna definitely go to jail because they'll arrest us, they'll throw us in jail, and then on Monday they can go, okay, the charges are dropped, but we're gonna spend the weekend in jail, which I was dreading, obviously. And I said, look, we went back and forth, and finally they said, you know what, we're gonna call our superior. We're calling our superior, the lieutenant. He's gonna come down here, and that'll be that. So now I'm thinking, well, that's it, we're going to jail. Guys, get ready. I had them hide the tapes, by the way. We used to make slits in the arms of the van and hide the tapes down there. And the movie was in the seat, you know? And finally, the lieutenant's car pulls up, and the lieutenant gets out, and he's nothing like, he's a young, well-built African-American guy, like not one of these big old sheriffs like from the heat of the night. He's like a young, new, he's a lieutenant. And he walks up to me, because of course they always, because I'm the authority figure, I'm the one that's always like in front in these situations. And he walks right up to me and he goes, what's going on here? And I point to the mistress and I go, she's got slaves. And he says, get out of here. And he let us go. So, you know, you get lucky sometimes, you know.
I have a question.
Hello. I was wondering, would you ever do a public education or John Dewey High School documentary?
Well, I would love to help do that. I don't know that I myself could, I don't know what that would be. I mean, that's a kind of a broad category. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stories to tell here, and I think it would be worth chronicling that, of course, you know. But I think also one thing we have to take into account in this day and age is, again, we're talking about mass media here. How does a movie like that get released? How does a movie like that get seen? We have to not only think about making the documentary about Dewey, but how to figure out a new way for people to see that documentary. And maybe it's through the internet, or, you know, Jean-Luc Godard once said that on his next movie, he wanted to give people DVDs and parachutes and push them out of planes and land in little villages, and they just to show the movie to as many people as they can. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So to me, one of the issues with making important things about real things, important movies about real things, is how do you get people to see it? And those venues are slowly shrinking. And that's, I think, one of the issues that I'm dealing with that I think is part of the problem with making a John Dewey documentary. Who gives you the money to make something now where they can feel secure in some way that they can make their money back? Because again, that is part of this equation as well. Somehow or another, I've been able to fool enough people into thinking they'd make their money back, and I've been able to get away with it. But that's a part of this process, you know? It's like, what happens to it once you make it? If the tree falls in the forest, no one hears it, what is the value ultimately? So it's not just making the movie, it's about getting it to the audience, and that's the challenge that I think we all face in that kind of world.